Ribeye. Ribeye steak comes from the rib section of the cow, where the muscles stay relatively inactive during movement. That lack of heavy use allows the meat to remain tender while developing thick marbling throughout the cut. As the steak cooks, the fat slowly melts and creates a rich, buttery flavor that many people associate with classic steakhouse dining. Some ribeyes are sold bone-in, including tomahawk and cowboy cuts, while others are trimmed without the bone for easier cooking. The center section is usually soft and juicy, while the outer edge carries more texture and flavor. Ribeye became especially popular in American steakhouses during the 20th century, when heavily marbled beef gained a reputation for quality and indulgence. Its balance of tenderness and strong beef flavor continues to make it one of the world's most recognized steaks. Filet mignon. Filet mignon is cut from the tenderloin, a long muscle that runs along the cow's spine. Since this muscle does very little work, the meat becomes extremely soft and delicate. Unlike fattier steaks, filet mignon contains very little marbling, giving it a milder and cleaner flavor. What makes it famous is not richness, but texture. When cooked carefully, the steak can almost melt apart with each bite. Because the tenderloin is small and produces limited portions, filet mignon is often one of the most expensive cuts served in restaurants. French cuisine helped make the steak internationally famous, especially in fine dining settings where tenderness was highly valued. Chefs often pair it with butter, sauces, or wrapped bacon to add more flavor to the lean meat. Its smooth texture and refined appearance made it a long-standing symbol of luxury dining. New York strip. New York strip steak comes from the short loin section of the cow, an area known for producing tender and flavorful meat. The cut has moderate marbling, giving it a balance between the richness of ribeye and the leaner texture of sirloin. Along one edge sits a strip of fat that helps keep the steak juicy while cooking. Compared to softer cuts like filet mignon, the New York strip has a firmer bite and a stronger beef flavor that many steak lovers prefer. The steak became closely linked with New York City steakhouses during the 19th century, where thick beef cuts became part of the city's dining culture. It is usually grilled or pan-seared over high heat to create a dark crust while keeping the inside tender. Its balance of flavor, texture, and consistency helped make it one of the most popular steaks worldwide. T-bone. T-bone steak is named after the large T-shaped bone that runs through the center of the cut. On one side sits a strip steak, while the other side contains a smaller section of tenderloin. Because it combines two different muscles, the steak offers two distinct textures in a single serving. The strip side is firmer and richer, while the tenderloin side stays softer and more delicate. T-bone steaks come from the short loin section of the cow and are usually cut thick to help both sides cook evenly. The bone also helps hold heat and moisture during cooking, adding extra flavor around the meat. T-bone steaks became especially famous in traditional American steakhouses, where large bone-in cuts symbolized hearty meals and celebration dining. When prepared properly, the steak delivers a combination of tenderness, flavor, and visual appeal that few cuts can match. Porterhouse. Porterhouse steak is closely related to the T-bone, but it contains a much larger section of tenderloin on one side of the bone. It is cut from the rear end of the short loin, where the tenderloin becomes thicker and wider. Because of its large size, porterhouse steaks are often served for sharing rather than individual meals. The steak combines two very different experiences in one cut. One side delivers the rich, firm texture of strip steak, while the other offers the soft tenderness of filet. Porterhouse steaks became popular in 19th century American restaurants, where oversized beef portions were associated with luxury and celebration. Cooking such a thick steak evenly requires careful timing, especially on a grill. When done properly, the porterhouse creates a balance of tenderness, strong beef flavor, and dramatic presentation that helped make it one of the most iconic steakhouse cuts. Sirloin. Sirloin steak comes from the rear back section of the cow, positioned between the short loin and the round. The meat is leaner and slightly firmer than premium cuts like ribeye or filet mignon, but it still carries a strong beef flavor that many people enjoy. Sirloin is often considered a practical middle ground between tenderness, taste, and affordability. Different parts of the sirloin produce different textures, with top sirloin usually being softer and more desirable. Because the cut contains less fat, the flavor feels cleaner and more direct rather than buttery. Sirloin became popular in homes and restaurants because it cooks quickly and works well in many dishes, from grilled steaks to sliced beef meals. While it may not have the luxury reputation of more expensive cuts, its versatility and reliable flavor helped it remain one of the world's most widely used steaks. Flank steak. Flank steak comes from the abdominal muscles of the cow, an area that works hard during movement. Because of that, the meat develops long muscle fibers and a very noticeable grain across the surface. Compared to traditional steakhouse cuts, flank steak is leaner and tougher, but it carries a deep and concentrated beef flavor. Proper slicing is especially important with this cut. After cooking, it is usually sliced thinly against the grain to shorten the muscle fibers and improve tenderness. Flank steak became popular in dishes that rely on marinades and fast, high-heat cooking, including fajitas and grilled steak salads. The open texture of the meat absorbs marinades well, allowing strong flavors to penetrate deeply. For many years, it was considered a more affordable working cut, though today its rich flavor and versatility have made it increasingly valued in kitchens around the world. Skirt steak. Skirt steak is cut from the diaphragm muscles beneath the ribs, an area known for producing thin and flavorful meat. The steak has a loose texture with very visible muscle fibers, giving it a chewy but satisfying bite when cooked properly. There are two versions called inside skirt and outside skirt, with the outside cut generally considered more tender. Skirt steak cooks very quickly because of its thin shape, making it ideal for high-heat grilling or searing. The cut became especially famous in Mexican and Tex-Mex cuisine, where sliced grilled beef is commonly used in fajitas. Marinades are often added to help soften the meat slightly while building extra flavor. Once cooked, the steak is usually sliced against the grain to improve tenderness. Its intense beef flavor and quick cooking time helped skirt steak become a favorite in both restaurants and home kitchens.